yourself?
I was born and raised in Atlantic City. My parents had several small businesses. The last one they had was on the boardwalk. So I kind of grew up on the boardwalk, being able to run on the beaches, and just being a kid in Atlantic City was the best upbringing in the world. I currently live in Pleasantville. I've been there for the past 24 years. And actually living in Pleasantville is the place that I have lived the longest in my entire 68 years. And I enjoy being in Pleasantville. It's a wonderful town. I came back to Atlantic City. I had been in Florida. I came back to Atlantic City in 1979 to go to work for the casinos. So working in casinos and being in the casinos are very near and dear to my heart. The people who work in there now need all the help they can get because they have so much competition coming in from other cities nearby. So we have to really help the casinos. I was a small business owner for many years in Pleasantville. I owned a sub shop. I was on the Pleasantville School Board for 6 years. I don't have any kids, but there was a definite need for people to be on the school board. Now I'm nearing the end of my 4th year as a city council person in the city of Pleasantville. So Pleasantville has really been very good to me, and I hope that I've been good for Pleasantville.
Thank you. What why should you be elected to county government?
Because I said so.
Because she said so.
Because I do have experience. Like I said, I was on the school board for many years, and anybody who was ever on the school board or knows of anybody on the school board knows that that is the perfect training ground for any kind of work in city government. You have to learn how to pick your battles, what battles you're going to pick, and what hill you're going to die on. And for me, it was always that doing the right thing. And I don't care who it was. If I didn't like you for some reason, but something happened to you that was not right, that was egregious, I will fight to help everybody. And I mean, that's just been what really brought me up. And I continue on with the same thought process in the city of Pleasantville on city council now.
Thank you again. So what do you see as the major issues facing county government?
The same issues that my running mate, Kim O'Brien, stated, pretty much are all the same. Everybody can agree on it. We need jobs, jobs, and more jobs. We need good paying jobs. We need infrastructure. We have antiquated roads. We have antiquated bridges. And we have antiquated thinking on the commissioner's side. We have to be more reactionary instead of, or being more proactive instead of being reactionary. You've got to look at potential problems before they become really big problems. And we need to deal with these problems as they arise.
How would you determine your budget priorities?
Well, the budget for the county right now is $262 million. And in most places, you know, elected places that I've been in, the school board and the city council, 80–85% of that goes to wages, salaries, benefits, pensions. So that's got to come right off the bat. But, like, they have a problem. Meadowview Nursing Home. They're looking to turn that over to the state to be a veterans center and hospital, because they're not able to fill the beds. There's 100 beds a day in Meadowview that are left unfilled. And they blame it on the fact that they can't get help because of the pandemic. 4 years later, they're still blaming it on the pandemic. You can't get help because you don't pay any money. I have spoken to people who work for the county, that have worked for the county for 30 years, just barely make $40,000. I really can't think of too many places that you can work for 30 years and not quite make $40,000 a year. So I think they have to look into tightening their belt in other places and raising up the salaries for their workers.
Can you give us an example of tightening in other places specifically, or an idea?
Well, I mean, if they filled those 100 beds in Meadowview, and, you know, you charge $400 a day for a hospital, or a bed in a nursing home, which I think might be low, there's like $40,000 right there, you know, just in maybe a day. My math is right. That's a lot of money. That's higher wages for people without expending too much, you know, energy on doing anything. The beds are there. It's a fixed cost. The beds are there. The sheets are there. The roof is there. So it would be kind of a no-brainer. If they were in business, they would have been closed up a long time ago.
Thank you. What do you believe is currently the single most pressing issue for Atlantic County residents, and how will you plan, or do you plan to address that issue?
Number one is finding housing for people. Last night on the Pleasantville City Council, we just enacted a rent control, which caps the amount that a landlord can charge at either 5% or whatever the CPI is. And the CPI right now is at 4%, so the max that they can charge, increase anybody's rent, is 4%. Because the landlords have just, and I think that's something that the county should institute, countywide, is rent controls. Just so that people can't, you know, move to a city. A landlord can't say, well, I'm going to sell these properties and buy a property here and raise it up because they don't have rent control. I think that the county needs to have a countywide rent control for people.
Thank you. This next question is a little long. Atlantic County is a very ethnically and racially diverse county. And recent census data shows that 16% of the county residents are foreign-born. However, in Atlantic City, about 1/3 of residents are foreign-born. How do you plan to engage the county's diverse communities, and what would you say to those hurt by statements that paint all immigrants with one broad negative brush?
I'm a granddaughter of immigrants. My grandparents came over on a boat from Sicily. They were here for 75 years, and their English was still hard to understand. But they came here like everybody else, hoping for the American dream. And that's no different than anybody else. And anybody who makes statements about immigrants, unless they are Native Americans, you're an immigrant. Everybody's an immigrant. We all came over on different boats, but now we're in the same boat. And anybody that says that, you know, blames anything on immigrants is absolutely abhorrent in my book. And if they're running for political office, they shouldn't be running, they should not get one single vote. That's just how I feel.
Thank you.
Did that answer the question?
That's not up for me to decide. Okay, so, was that the time? 10 seconds. Okay, so you have 10 seconds to close us out with your final words.
Well, a minute, okay. Well, I don't know how many people realize it, but District 2 has been redistricted so that Pleasantville is included in its own separate district now. We used to be part of the district in Atlantic City. Now, Mr. Corsi's burden will be a little bit lessened by having Pleasantville with Absecon and Northfield and the other communities, the mainland communities will now be part of District 2. So I think that it will help that Pleasantville now has its own representation. I will represent everybody in my district, not only Pleasantville, but I will always have a soft spot for Pleasantville.
Thank you.